installment in the cafe here at the Center on Technology and Disability. My name is John Newman. I'm an assistive technology specialist with Pacer Center, one of the partners on CTD. And I'd just like to take a quick moment to introduce the star of the show today, who is Chris Bugaj. There's so much to talk about with this man. He's an author, a podcast host, and most of all, he is an assistive technology specialist who really enjoys his job. And today he's going to introduce us to some free and low-cost strategies to increase reading and writing. So Chris, thank you so much for your time, and we'll turn things over to you and start this game.
All right, thank you so much, John. Can everybody hear me? If you can, please just type it into the chat. Yep, Chris, we can hear you fine. Everything's great. Love to get perfect. Good. Looks like it's all coming in positive. All right, so first things we have to explain are some of the logistics. If this is your first CTD event, you should know that these things are sort of done in a set of 3. So you can participate in any 1, 2, or 3, any part of the event that you want. So part 1 here is this webinar, and immediately following this webinar, we're going to have a week-long discussion forum. And at the very end of this webinar, I'll jump over there and I'll actually show you how to get to the discussion forum. But if you found the link to register for this, the discussion forum's off that same link. And then the third part is a Twitter chat that will have just as like an hour-long follow-up. And so what's really great about that platform for this sort of event is that what you're going to see here today during our Jeopardy webinar is a whole bunch of tools and strategies. And you're going to have a week to go off and kind of anything that like really appeals to you and kind of stings to you, you can go over and try it and then ask me questions during that discussion forum, and not just me, but anyone else who's participating in the discussion forum saying, yeah, I tried that web tool, Chris, I don't get it. Or, yeah, I tried it, was great, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Or you can give some feedback. Or, you know what, I like this one, not that one so much. You know, this sort of webinar really lends itself to having a follow-up discussion afterwards, so it's not just a one and done, you know. Come in, do the webinar, and then never use any of the tools that you learned during the webinar. This gives you an opportunity to actually play with it. So that's how this webinar is going to run. That's how the CTD events sort of run. The next thing you need to know is that this webinar is not your typical webinar. If you've done webinars before, and chances are you have, the idea is that, you know, you come and you sit and you listen to somebody talk for an hour. Maybe there's some questions at the end. That's not how this is going to work at all. Because every time I've done a webinar like that, I find that sometimes people kind of drift off and they go check their email, or they get up and they kind of wander around. That's what I'm in the room as a participant. And so I wanted to really kind of change it up and see if we could get some active participation. So John said that I'm sort of the star of the show, but not really. Really, you're the stars of the show. It's going to work in Jeopardy where I sort of pose the question, and then you write your answers over in the chat, and or questions, I guess. It doesn't have to be in the form of a question. It will be sort of informal. We won't be sticklers for the rules. And then I might take a moment to elaborate on why I think it's important, that tool is important. I might even jump over to a website and show you 1 or 2 things. And then we'll jump back into the presentation and we'll do it again. We'll ask the next question. And if you're the first person to answer it right, then you get to choose the next category and the next dollar amount. And if you want, just for fun, you have a little note next to you or you have some sort of a device next to you, feel free to keep score and see how well you do. I'd love to know how much money you earned at the end, even though there's no real money. Okay? Everyone clear? There's no real money associated. Okay, and the last thing you need to know before we jump into Jeopardy is that many of these, many of what I'm going to show you are tools that you can use to help with reading and writing, and most of them are. But I don't want you to get caught up in the minutia of, well, what's the specific tool here? I want you to think of them more like word families, you know, like think back to, if you're a teacher, you're in the elementary grades, or if you think back to when you were in the elementary grades, or maybe when your kids were in the elementary grades, you know how you learn the word families, you know, there's the AY family, like bay and clay and day, right? And then there's the next word family, and that's how you learn to spell words, and you learn to write and to read words, right, these word families. I want you to think of these tools in that sort of context, in that it's not really important what specific tool, but what family do they belong to? What's the overall point of the tool in general? And I think that'll become more and more clear as we start looking at some of the tools. Don't get hung up in the specific tool. What's the function of the tool? That's really what I want you to walk away from. Because you'll find that depending on where your neck of the woods, some of you will have PCs that you use primarily, and others will have Chromebooks that they use primarily, and others will have iPads. And so the tools are, rather than getting into specific tools, well, how does that work on an iPad? And how does that work on a Chromebook? And how does that work on a PC? And how does that work on a Mac? And so on and so forth. It's what's the idea, so I can find that same idea, that same sort of tool, that word family, that tool family, that works on my system, whichever one I happen to be using. So, are you ready for some Jeopardy? Let me see it in the chat, so I know that you're all ready to play. Excellent, excellent. Okay, here are the learning objectives. Just so you know, as we jump over there, all of these are the top one is, if you look at this, really it's about universal design for learning. It's how to help students express what they know, how to help teachers represent content in different ways, and then how to increase engagement, all with the idea of reading and writing as the backdrop. All right, here we go. The very first person to log in today, who got here so early, she was so excited, was Rochelle. She logged in like 4 hours early. No, I'm just kidding. She was here like, what, 30 minutes early? So Rochelle, if you would like to choose, you see there's 5 different categories here. We have providing structure, verbal as a strength, fun with text, promoting literacy, and potpourri. Where should we start, Rochelle? Rochelle's typing. I can see that she's typing. And she said verbal as a strength for 100. Yes. How many students do we know who are verbal but have trouble expressing what they know through writing? All right. So verbal as a strength for 100. Click on it. A way for students to express what they know without having to generate, handwrite, type, dictate, etc., text without the use of pictures or video. What are people putting as the response? Lori's typing. Speech to text. Interesting. Lori says speech to text. Tracy says Audacity. What is recording? Smartboard. John, you did have access to this presentation ahead of time. But I'm guessing you're not cheating. Some say word prediction, audio recording. Okay, so Lori put speech to text. Notice that I wrote specifically without having to dictate, which is sort of like speech to text. It's not exactly, but that's sort of what I'm getting at there. So let's take a look. There's a little girl, a glitch, smart pen. What is voice recording? Exactly. What is recording? Audio recording, voice recording of some sort. So here's the point behind this is that for ages, right, as most of you, as I went to school, the way we had to express what we knew was through handwriting because there wasn't another way. There wasn't, if a student had trouble handwriting, maybe the teacher would pull them to the back of the room and they would talk for a second about, okay, you just took the test on George Washington. That last part of the test on George Washington was an essay question. I know you have trouble handwriting, so why don't you tell me the answer? Okay, that's right. We were talking about how him chopping down the cherry tree was just a story. Yep, you got it. Okay, I know you know it because they have a little conversation in the back of the room. And that's how we used to do it, and that's actually still how a lot of people do it. But we have the technology now where students can record their own voice and turn in the audio file as opposed to text. There is no reason we have to rely necessarily. There is no reason we have to rely on text as the ultimate form of students expressing what they know. So it doesn't necessarily have to be speech to text where I have to record my voice and it comes out in text and now the teacher reads it. Instead, I could just record my voice and the teacher could then listen to it so that they know what I know. And so that's the very first step. Helping with writing is reducing the stress of having to write by just recording your voice. So that's step number 1. All right, so give yourself 100 if you got audio recording. And who was the first person to put audio recording there? I think, I guess that would be John. So John, do you want to choose the next category? Excellent. I knew you did. I knew you didn't cheat. I was just teasing. Yeah. Charlotte is choosing the next. Let's do fun with text for 300. Yes, let's have some fun with some text. A tool used to create visualizations from blocks of text, useful to help students vary word choice in their own writing or to highlight themes in text. Anyone have an idea of what this tool used to create visualization from blocks of text, useful to help students vary their word choice in their own writing or to highlight themes in text? I bet you've all seen them. I don't see anybody typing. I'm going to give you a hint. So struggling. Oh, wait. That robot number is doing it. Multiple attendees. Bolding, interesting. So when I mean blocks of text, I mean big. So blocks, interesting, yes. Word maps, interesting, Bridget. I wonder if you're saying the same thing I'm saying, just using a different term. Highlighting. Okay, here are the pictures. There's one. There's another. Any ideas now? Word clouds, exactly, word clouds. Okay, so here's the deal. Here are a couple tools that you can use to make word clouds. The most popular is probably Wordle.net, but there are other ones, and they have different uses, like Tagxedo allows you to have like little pictures. Like Wordle doesn't allow you to have that little face, that picture that I have in there in the top right about professional development, but Tagxedo does. So what's my favorite? My favorite is probably Wordle.net, Andy, only because it's so easy for educators. But I like all of them, you know, depending on if I wanted to make some sort of image in the background, then maybe I'd use one of the other ones. So, here's the point. Why am I showing this? So often, I'll see this used in schools, right? You walk around the hallways, you might see this up, and the way it's used by educators is sometimes like, tell me all about yourself. So students will write in a bunch of words about themselves, and then they'll have their word cloud. Or let's show our school pride, and there's a whole bunch of words about pride, and it goes up on the wall. But it can really be used as a reading and writing strategy. So take Dr. Martin Luther King's famous speech, and you take that block of text, right? There's the block of text, and you paste it into the word cloud. What does the word cloud do? How do those words become bigger? Well, it's the words that are repeated the most frequently that are larger. So what happens is you take Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, you pop it into a word cloud generator, and the words that are repeated the most frequently become larger so the students can immediately see what's the point of this block of text. Oh, it's freedom, it's choice, it's equality, right? Whatever the block of text is, you get the themes out of them. Now, so Maureen did it, yeah? And how was it, Maureen? Did people love it? Did it really help? Maureen's typing. As she's typing, let me tell you about the other use for it, and that would be writing, right? So you get the student, remember, what did you do over the snow days? That's the essay you have to write. Well, my snow days were very good. I went sledding a lot. It was very cold out, and I was very thirsty when I was done sledding, and my clothes got very wet. And so what do? They keep using the word very, 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 very over. So to vary word choice, V-A-R-Y, you take that student's text and you ask them to pop it into the word cloud generator, and then the word vary, V-E-R-Y, would pop out huge. And so they would see, oh yeah, I'm using that word. Is that the theme I want from my snow day essay, is vary? Or do I want the theme to be snow and cold and, you know, bitter and something like that? Okay, so word clouds, the first, and just, Bridget, is that what you meant by word maps? Is that the same thing? Curious if that's, or if that's another tool that I don't know about. So, the first person to put word clouds looks like it was Janet. So Janet, can you go ahead and choose the next category for us? What appeals to you? Janet's choosing. She's reading carefully. Does she want providing structure or promoting literacy? What does she want? Maybe more fun with text, because that was a good one. Potpourri for 100, right, my favorite category in all of Jeopardy. All right. Bitstrips.com, Pixton.com, Toondoo.com, the Lego website, and the Marvel website allow users to create this form of representation and expression. Maureen jumps in with cartoons, right? Exactly. Cartoons or comic strips. Yes, our judges say cartoons are comic strips. So yes. Yeah, I love using comics. And teachers, whenever they do, I've shown this, and they do it, all the students always seem to have fun. But the reason, besides the engagement factor, the reason I really like comic strips are the ability to scaffold them up and down. So you could give one student say, just turn them loose. Like, okay, go to Toondoo and create me a 4-cell comic expressing what you know about George Washington and the cherry tree, right? And they can go over and do that. Where a different student, you might give them 4 panels and have characters, and you leave the text bubbles blank, but they have to fill in the text bubbles. And then another student, you fill in 3 of the text bubbles and leave the 4th one blank, and they just have to fill in the 4th one. And any range in there in between, because this way, the students are all sort of kind of doing the same activity, but there's different levels of how they can complete it, so that they're writing to their level, their ability. The reason I include, you'll notice that there's Bitstrips and Pixton and Toondoo. Those allow you to create these sort of generic characters. So this one over here on the left, with the big guy with the big chin and the girl in the front, that's made in Bitstrips. And then, yes, in Storyboard That, my son just used that. Nice, Maureen. My son just used that the other day. So that's another one that's good, another free one, too. This one over here is, on the right-hand side, the 4-panel one is made using Toondoo. And those, you'll notice, are sort of generic characters, right? So the teacher can create the generic characters, and like they can put, instead of the instructions of, just they could make a cartoon with the instructions, and so they can make these little caricatures. But what I really want to point out is the difference. These are sort of generic characters versus the Lego website or the Marvel website, where students would actually know those characters. You know what I mean? So it'd be like when you're trying to find a voice for a character, and they're trying to write about a character, well, what would Captain America say in this situation? What would Hulk say? Hulk needs new form of expression, right? Hulk smash. You know those characters, so you can write about what those characters would say in a certain situation, as opposed to these generic characters where some students are like, I don't know who that character is. I don't know their voice. The Lego website, the same thing. You have Lego Star Wars, so you have Yoda. Well, how would Yoda word this? And that takes it to a whole new level, or it helps students understand how they should write it because they know that character's voice. All right, so that was, who jumped in there first? As the first person to say cartoons, Maureen. And if there's any questions in there, please feel free to ask. But all right, Maureen, what's next? Maureen's typing, and yes, thank you all of you for putting in the like Storyboard That. If you know of any other tools, iOS devices, Chrome apps, whatever that you like, feel free to put them in the chat. Like I said, you guys are the stars. You have content you know as well. All right, providing structure for 200. Yes, structure. We all need structure. It's the one thing almost every student craves is structure. All right, a visual tool to segment, chunk, or otherwise define a chronological sequence of events created using tools like timetoast.com and Jeopardy.com. Maureen jumps in again with timelines. That's right. Leandra, just a few seconds behind her, so close. Okay, and so there's an example of a timeline, right? What are timeline generators? That one happens to be created using Jeopardy. And that one actually is one my son, who's in 4th grade, it's one that he actually made. So the idea here is that he read a book, and in fact, I think maybe I'll jump over and show it to you real quick over in on the actual web. So let me jump over and show it to you. He, back in the day, we would go and we have to do book reports. Well, every month he has a different project that he has to do, where he has to read a book, on a different genre. So in this particular book, it was historical fiction. And so he read the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I can't believe I survived the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941. That was the name of the book. And so then, back in the day when we did our book reports, we would read a book and then write an essay on the book, telling all the points about the book. Well, today, and then what would happen is that essay would go to the teacher would grade it, and we would get it back. We'd say, well, we feel good about ourselves. Thanks, teacher, for reading my essay on this book that I read. But now what my son does is he does the same sort of thing, but he puts pictures, he puts a sentence or two describing the sequence of events, and then you'll notice down here at the bottom, all of this block of text down here, that is what he generated as he did each of these cells, right? So as he wrote one cell, and then he moved on to the next cell, right? And he's telling the story one cell at a time, right? So he's not overwhelmed, one cell at a time. And then when he's all done and putting a picture with each one that he just finds in Google, it puts it in a nice little timeline for him. And then the teacher has different ways that she can look at it. She can look at that timeline, or she can look at it in a more chronological, or I guess, essay fashion, more traditional to the book report style. And what's so cool about this is that students can, he's publishing it to the world. So up here at the top, you'll see that he has created, that 136 people have viewed this particular timeline. So here, he's actually maybe teaching somebody about this book, It's actually making something authentic. So, all right, so that is timeline generators. I really like it for story sequencing. I really like it for students doing something chronological. I also really like it if you're a speech therapist that happen to be logged in for the before and after sort of concepts, teaching the temporal concepts, language concepts, great for that. Okay, let me jump back over to the presentation. All right, Maureen. Maureen, sounds like you maybe have used some timeline generators too, so feel free to type in there what you've used. Oh, well, read, write, think, I see that. But okay, Maureen, I think you said timeline, so you maintain control. What is next? Promoting literacy for 400. All right, let's see what people know about this. A proven methodology to improve the reading abilities of students that is a function of a device found almost ubiquitously in every home in the United States. It's a proven methodology. There's research behind this one. Janet jumps in really quick with captioning. Kimberly, a book. I love that. But Janet is right. It is captioning. There you go. There's Dora the Explorer, and you can see that the captions are on, right? And there's the little CCD and what is closed captioning. And if you're interested in reading the research, that's the hyperlink you go to, bit.ly/caption research. So tons of research has been done that shows that just turning the captions on helps students become better readers. So what's the takeaway from that? The takeaway is that anytime you are watching a video, you turn the captions on in your classroom, right? Second, anytime, so if you're a teacher, you make your classroom a captions on classroom. If you're a principal, you make your school a captions on school. Anytime there's a video on, the captions are on. And then if you're a parent, make your home a captions on home, right? And teachers, that is the easiest homework assignment you can give to parents. To say, hey, you want to help your kids become better readers? Turn the captions on, because chances are they're watching TV at least some part of the day. And so whether they're watching is Teen Titans or Mythbusters, if you turn the captions on, it'll help them become better readers. One other thing to note is that if you are using iOS devices, there's a feature of when I say iOS, I mean iPads, iPod Touch, that sort of stuff, right? There's a feature in the accessibility features where you can turn the captions on universally on the device, so that most movies, if they have captions, will automatically come on, right? So we have that set for my kids here, my own personal kids. Have iPads. We have that set so when they turn on, my daughter was watching Powerpuff Girls the other day. She turned that on and the captions are there. And at least I don't feel so bad that, hey, she's watching a 30-minute show on Powerpuff Girls because I know at least she's getting the text, exposure to the text, exposure to the words. So, okay, everyone going to turn the captions on? Yes, Chris, we're turning the captions on. Oh, we should have done that all the time. Yes, exactly. Turn those on. All right, Janet. Where are we going next? Janet is choosing. Other people are flipping over to their accessibility features on their iPad, trying to find out how to turn on the captions. All right, verbal as a strength, 400. A free open source software which allows users to record long tracks of audio useful for practicing reading fluency. Now, someone mentioned this earlier, so who's jumping in with the answer? Maureen again jumps in with Audacity. Exactly. Audacity is the free open source software. Of course, tell me there must be other softwares that you use out there, software titles that you use to record audio. Like what? What do you have on your devices? Oh, Maureen says Vocaroo. Interesting. That's a web-based software. OneNote is a way to record your voice. Absolutely. Way to go, Tracy. OneNote is Microsoft's product, sort of like Evernote, except it's Microsoft's product. SoundCloud, great, right? So, of course, there's GarageBand if you're a Mac user. Right? So the idea here is that you take your recording software, and Audacity allows you to create these outer limits sort of wavelength visualizations. As you're recording, you can actually see your voice go up and down, right? So again, if you're a speech therapist and you're like, wow, I got a student that's always talking too loud, well, record them in Audacity and they can actually see how loud they're talking and you can give them the model. But this is about reading and writing, right? So what's the idea here with using Audacity is that you record a student reading their stuff in September or at the beginning of school, and their reading will no doubt sound choppy, right? And it won't sound fluid at all. And they'll get better, right? Because you're practicing reading fluency and they're practicing reading throughout the course of the year. But they won't know they're getting better, right? Because it happens so incrementally that they don't really notice it. So by recording it, they'll have a recording in September that you can play later in, let's say, October or November. And then you compare the two and you're like, hey, you don't think you're getting better? Listen to how much better you sound. And if there's one thing our students need more than any, and I say our students, I mean students in general, it's some encouragement that, yes, I'm struggling. They know that they're not good at it, right? I'm not a good reader. I'm not a good writer. This is not coming easy to me. And I look at my neighbor next door and it's coming easy to them. But it's not good for me. I'm struggling. So here, let me show you some confidence. If there's one thing they need, it's confidence. So here, listen to this. Here's your recording 2 months ago. Here's your recording now. Which one sounds better, buddy? Oh, yeah, you sound better, right? You're improving. Plus, Audacity has the built-in time frames, so you can actually see, look, you recorded this in 45 seconds back in September, and now you recorded in 30 seconds. Not that speed is the only thing, but you can see there's an actual marker, a quantifiable marker that could show you read the same passage faster, you're reading faster, you're reading more fluidly, it sounds better, right? So, cool. That's Audacity. All right, Maureen, I think you got that one right. So, where are we going next? Yes, Maureen's mentioning Fluency Tutor for Google, which is a text help product, which you might see later. Not Fluency Tutor, but depending on what you gets chosen here, we might look at a text help product. Text help is the name of the company that makes Fluency Tutor. All right, potpourri for 500. Whoa, okay. Going for big money. The best way to adapt a worksheet. The best way to adapt a worksheet. Janet says PDF escape. Maureen says not to use it. Becca says what is not to have it. Becca! Hey, Becca. Smiley face, highlight. Yes, the answer is not to have a worksheet. Yes, it is a trick. It is a trick. What is the Google spreadsheet? Yes. Some people might say you could adapt a worksheet by, taking a picture of it or scanning it in. I definitely show teachers that way too much. You can take a picture of a document, put it in Microsoft Word, turn it into a picture, put it in Microsoft Word, put text box over it so students can write on top of it. You can take that same picture if you're a Google user and put it into Google Drawing and put text box over it. You can do all of that, but all of that, you're doing it for a worksheet. And so let me phrase this in a different way. I live in Virginia. Here in Virginia, our school district is probably closing in on its 10th or 11th snow day. We had a 2-hour delay today. And what do students say every single time there's a snow day? What do they say every time there's a snow day? Yay, yay, it's a snow day, woohoo, I don't want to go to school because school sucks, right? And what do teachers say when there's a school day or there's a snow day? Same thing, yay, I don't have to go to school today. And I think, why does it have to be that way? If we designed lessons that were more engaging than a worksheet, then maybe I would feel like, oh man, I really wanted to go to school today, whether I was the teacher or the student, because I was going to do this cool thing. I was going to learn about, or I was going to do this lesson on. No one jumps out of bed going, yes, I can't wait to go to school today doing my worksheet. I can't wait to go to school so I can fill out this worksheet on Pocahontas or the worksheet on the 8 planets. Those are the two that are, yes, those are actual worksheets that have come home with my student, with my son, so cross them out. The idea is not to do a worksheet. Design a lesson that's more engaging so that you don't have to use a worksheet. Okay? And then so much of us that work in assistive technology, right, John? So many of us that work in assistive technology won't have to help you figure out how to adapt that worksheet. I would much rather spend the time with that teacher saying, how can I help you design a lesson so you don't have to use the worksheet in the first place? All right, who said don't have to use a worksheet? Who was first? I missed it. I forgot. Oh, it was Maureen. Yes, excellent. All right, Maureen. And Becca, you got it too. But Maureen, you jumped in with not to use it. What are we picking? Maureen's choosing. Providing structure for 300. All right, again, back to the structure. A way to provide tactile and visual prompts to help segment, tell, and or retell a story to include important aspects such as setting, characters, conflict, events, and conclusion. Yes, notice it says tactile. Liz thinks she has an answer. Storyboard, interesting, yes. Storyboard is close. Story grammar marker. What's a story grammar marker? Interesting. Is that a website that I don't know about? A 5-finger retell. Look at that number person comes in. Yes. So the 5-finger retell is very similar to what I'm thinking here. This is kind of, you haven't seen one before, or maybe you think of it, but you just haven't thought of it in these terms. This is definitely a low-tech strategy, not a computer-based one. It's called a story rope, right? Or really anything that is tactile that you can use to touch to tell a story. So let's take a look at this story rope here, for instance. Right? You're retelling a story. And so you've read the text, and now how do you tell that text back in a linear format so that maybe you'll be writing it later, but you're just retelling it back? Well, that story rope, if you can see up there at the top, there's the setting. It's a picture of a house, and you can touch it and hold it. And then you move on to the little gear icons. I don't know if you can see that, but those are little characters, right? So then you tell about the characters. And then there's a guy with the little thing he's pushing on that circle, right? There's a conflict there, so what's the fight? and then you got the person at the starting line, the person running, and the person finishing. So the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then some sort of conclusion. Yeah, like a felt board, Maureen, perfect. Any way that you can make students touch the stuff, you know. They said Legos is another great way, where you have setting might be one Lego color, and then you connect all the Legos together and you build like a pyramid with the setting at the bottom and then characters or little guys you put on top, and then on top of them might be, you know, a red brick that means the conflict, or you can print out words and put them on the Lego blocks, you know, conflict, you know. But some way that students can actually touch the material will help them remember the content as they're retelling the story. So, all right, number person, you know, 78959482449. You came the closest with five-finger retell, right? So go ahead, you get to choose the next one. All right, Heather. What are you choosing, Heather? Ah, so the story grammar marker is a story rope. All right, Liz, sorry. I didn't know that. Cool. I'm learning, see? Fun with text for 100. A visual tool used to segment, chunk, or otherwise define areas in which to write. Created using tools like MindMeister, Mindomo, Lucidchart, Mind42, Kako, or Keiko, I don't know how to say it, Glyphy, and Spidersquad.net. Mind map. Heather says graphic organizer. Janet says, let's see what Janet comes in with. Information graphics. Oh, infographics, that's cool. That's different, Janet. These tools don't necessarily make infographics, though I do love that whole idea of making infographics. So it is, you got it right, it's a graphic organizer or a mind map. Right? A mind map, I think, is a specific type of graphic organizer. At least that's how I think of it. As Maureen uses Inspiration and Kidspiration. Those ones you pay for, right? These that I've mentioned here are web-based ones. The point that I think Maureen is making and that I'm trying to make is that you see teachers a lot use graphic organizers. That's kind of a known tool to use, except what I don't rarely see them use is a digital one. It's usually some paper-based one. So, you know, like my son came home with one of his projects and fill out this graphic organizer, and it's like these, you know, write a paragraph or write 2 sentences in these little bubbles that are, you know, he can't even fit, you know, a couple words in there, let alone a sentence, you know. They don't really think about laying it out. By having a digital version, you have all the other tools at your disposal that you can use, like moving them around, moving the shapes around, and adding audio content, and adding pictures, and adding hyperlinks out to more text, or out to a website or something, or to a video to further explain it. And you can't do any of that with a paper-based graphic organizer. Well, not as easily anyway. So that's why I recommend using these graphic organizers that are web-based or at least digital in some way. So let me jump over and show you one real quick. I'm going to show you Mindomo. Let me drop this one. Here's Mindomo. Right? And so this is one I made in Mindomo. Usually these free ones allow you to create an account, and then you get to make like 3 for free, and then you have to start paying for more, right? And so here you can see, why do I use mind mapping? Why do I use graphic organizer? Well, because I can move things around if I want, right? I can move this around if I want. I can link to websites. I can put visuals. I can link to a video. I can teach a new word this way. And then notice this one. It says option as a final product. So check this out. As opposed to writing something like this and this being the final product, there's a presenter feature up here. MindMeister has one. Mindomo has one. So I'm going to jump over into presenter mode. And now, check it out. Now, sort of like Prezi without the seasickness, right? I can just jump to the next, you know, got all the spinny roller coaster motion. I'm just zooming in and out. Not that I don't like Prezi, I like Prezi too. But yeah, it's just like that way. Right, so you get the idea. So, cool? All right, Maureen, you jumped in with mind map, which I think people use synonymously with graphic organizer. So, like I said, the idea is to use a digital version. So let's jump back over to our PowerPoint. And we maximize the screen again. Okay, what are we using? What are we going to next, Maureen? Potpourri for 300. We are jumping all over. Awesome. I love it. A function built into MS Word that provides data about the reading level and complexity of the text. Leander jumps in with readability. Exactly. Now, and Jeanette says word count, which it does do word count as well, and Google Docs will do word count as well, but Microsoft Word specifically has a readability feature that Google Docs doesn't. And so that's what this picture comes, so that's what this picture shows, right? If you were to look in Google Docs, for instance, it has word count, and like you said, and Jeanette, there's word count here as well, right? So whatever block of text I had, this was when I made this screenshot, that's how many characters and words there were. But notice down here at the bottom, it gives the readability statistics. So why? Why is that important? Well, okay. So I have this block of text that I want students to read. I know I have students that have trouble reading at a certain, or reading at a certain grade level or reading level. So I take that block of text, I pop it into Microsoft Word, or maybe it's already in Microsoft Word. I go through this readability. I turn on the readability statistics, which is, it happens through spell check, right? You turn it on through those, or how I said here to enable it, file, options, proofing. You click on the checkbox to enable readability statistics, and then you hit spell check. And when you do the spell check, at the end, this pops up, this window pops up. And so now you can see, oh, geez, I got a student at a second grade reading level or third grade reading level, and I'm asking them to read a block of text that is at a seventh grade reading level. I got a disconnect there. I've got some problems. So now I got to do something to modify that text so that the student can read it. And of course, we'll have some other tools that we'll get to, then how we can help that student do that. The other way you can do it, the other way students use this, is that once a student has written a block of text, I've written my essay, well, okay, let me do my spell check and have the readability statistics pop up, and then let me look at this grade level. Well, let's see, I'm a third grader, fourth grader, and what is my readability? Grade level 1 comes up. Maybe I could do something to this block of text. Maybe I can challenge myself to go in and make my sentences a little bit longer, or add some details, or add some description. Let me see if I can up my score from a grade level 1 to a grade level 3 or something. Now, it's not a perfect science, because the way the readability statistics work is that it's based on how long your sentences are, how long your words are, and so it's a tool you can use, but it's not, a student might write a really good sentence that's short, things went awry, and they're like, awry is going to be a short sentence. If I did the readability statistics on that sentence, it's going to come out relatively low, although awry is a pretty good word, Someone use that and be like, yes, So the idea is that it's a tool that they can use. It's a metric they can use that they can try to adjust, but it's not at the end-all be-all. So, cool? Readability statistics? Cool different features? All right, Leandra. Where are we going? Promoting literacy for 100. This function allows the user to hear digital text read aloud, which may be useful for listening to questions, understanding vocabulary, processing information, and editing written work. Haha. Oh, and Jeanette, so close. Liz, I think Liz is the first one to get it. Definitely speech to text, okay? Janet says Read and Write Gold, which is a specific tool that does text to speech. Sorry, not speech to text. That's the confusing part. Speech to text is when I talk and the text comes out, and Read and Write Gold does that as well. But what I'm specifically looking for here is text-to-speech, where I see a block of text and I hit a play button and I listen to it, right? So there's a toolbar. What I'm going to show you right now is Read and Write for Google. Read and Write Gold is a software package a software product that you can install on your computer. You have to pay for it, and you install, and it puts a toolbar on your screen. I'm sure you've heard of the Don Johnson suite of products, the Solo suite. There are tons of free text-to-speech out there. Again, let's not get wrapped around what's the best text-to-speach tool, just the fact that you need to have one. Every school needs to have one. In fact, I say to teachers all the time, I'll say, all right, what's 2 plus 2? In fact, go ahead, type it in. What's 2 plus 2? Go ahead and type it in. What's 2 plus 2? 4, yeah, Liz, thank you. Thank you. What's 4 plus 4? 8, yes, thank you for participating. Yes, exactly, right? Everyone knows that. It's just something you just know because it's been ingrained in you since kindergarten. So as a teacher, I ask you, what's your text-to-speech tool? Same question. Go ahead and type it in. What is your specific text-to-speech tool? Every teacher, especially general education teachers, but every teacher needs to know what their text-to-speech tool is. Yeah, so many people know they're using Read and Write, Exactly. Tracy's got PDF Reader. It doesn't really matter to me. Yes, Kurzweil, great. It doesn't matter to me what your text-to-speech tool is, as long as you have one and you know how to use it. All right, so here are the 2 ways you really use text-to-speech. Let me jump over to my essay that I'm going to write called The Ferret. You see how it's called The Ferret up here at the top? I don't know if you can see that it's called The Ferret there. Okay, so I'm going to, first I'm going to do my sentence here. Okay, so ready? Here's my sentence, everybody. The ferret slept on the bed. Type that in. Good sentence? You think it's a good sentence? The ferret slept on the bed as a subject. The ferret. The ferret's doing something. He's sleeping. Right? Good sentence? Yeah. So here we go. The ferret slept on the bed. Perfect, right? Did I do it right? The ferret slept on the bed? I did that right. Anna says no. Lori says no. Alice says no. Lori, Anna, Alice, Tracy. Wait, Tracy says missing on. No, it's right there. The ferret slept on the bed. You don't see it? All you guys are wrong. Wrong. You're all wrong. Nope, you're wrong. The ferret slept on the bed. It's right there. I read it over. Oh, you're saying I messed it up. I should check. You should use my editing checklist that I learned in 3rd grade, the editing checklist that my teacher gave me. All right, let me do that. Let me check for capitalization. Did I check for capitalization? Yep, I've capitalized. Did I check for punctuation? Yep, I got a punctuation there. I got a period. Do I see any little red squigglies underneath my line saying I spelled something wrong? Nope, no little red squigglies. So what should I do? I should add something at the bottom because you're all telling me I got it wrong, but I'm telling you I think I got it right. I should listen to it. And so in this particular tool, I am using Google Chrome. I have Read and Write for Google installed. You know, and we won't go through how I actually did that, and you can get it for free. Read and Write for Google is free for educators. But I'm just going to hit the play button, and when I listen to it, I hear that I made the mistake. My ear catches the mistake that my eyes missed, and then I can go back and fix it. Same deal over here. Let me, right, so at the takeaway there is every editing checklist, the very last thing you should have in your editing checklist is did I listen to it? Not did I read it over, which is what is on most people's editing checklist right now, but did I listen to it? So that's one way to use text-to-speech and why it's so important. But the other way is here I've come to this great website, right? And this website is the website of all websites on teaching whatever. Maybe it's the George Washington website. Maybe it's the Polar Bear website. Whatever it is, teachers use websites to teach content, right? And so remember our student that we talked about earlier, there's a 2nd grade reading level, but the website, when I ran it through the Readability Statistics, it said that it was a grade level 7.2, and I got that disconnect. Well, now that student, all they have to do is, here's Read and Write. Come on, open up. Oops. There we go. The toolbar opened up. I have, this is Read and Write for Google. again, this is the text-to-speech feature is free for everybody, right? Some of the other features are grayed out. You have to pay for them. And I guess some of them are free for teachers as well. But the text-to-speech feature, which is what I'm talking about here, is completely free for everybody, so that anyone can have it. And so all I do now is move my cursor over the words, and it starts reading it aloud. Right? And so now my student that is struggling with reading doesn't have to rely on his reading ability to understand that content. He can use his reading ability paired with his auditory comprehension ability to understand that content. As long as he can listen to it, he can get the content. Cool. All right. Again, thank you all for sharing your text-to-speech tools. That is great. I'm glad. It seems like everybody is on board, that's participating, is on board, knows text-to-speech, and that is a wonderful thing. I think there's one tool that I think we need to champion the most. That might be it. Okay, who put text-to-speech first? I forget. That's way back up there. So can someone remind me who said first? Was it Liz? All right, Liz. Excellent. Liz, what's next? Well, man, we still have so much to go. Excellent. Promoting literacy for 200. All right. A method for teaching literacy skills by way of adjusting narratives through the inclusion of additional textures, audio, additional pictures, movable objects, rebus text, and or other media formats. A method for teaching literacy skills. Bye, Janet. Thanks for playing. Multimedia, sort of. Multimedia could be an aspect of it. Hypermedia might be an aspect. So yeah, because you can include audio that way. But movable objects, yeah, I guess you could move it around with multimedia. Rebus text, yeah, you could add pictures in there. So yeah, totally. Alice jumps in with adapted books. That's the word I was looking for, right? Those other words aren't wrong, but that's exactly what I was looking for, is taking a book and adapting it, changing the book from being just an experience where you read a book and look at the pictures to it being an experience where you read the book and you look at the pictures and you move the pictures and you interact with the book by making it tactile in some way or adapting it in some way to meet the needs of the learner, right? So the picture you might see behind there, there's like a wiki sticks and there's some, there's wiki sticks and there's some leaves, right? And this one over here, there's the kid that he's Velcroed on, so you can rip him off and you can actually have him jump into the pile of leaves. And underneath that, there's some Mayor Johnson symbols that go, or board maker symbols that go over the text. And in the foreground picture up here, you have students that are learning the icon sequencing associated with Prinky Robic devices, with MinSpeak, right? And so teachers have gone in and said, hey, we're teaching MinSpeak. We're teaching them how to find these icons on their device. So I'm going to adapt this book by putting those down there at the bottom, right, of the books that we're reading. So some way of adapting books. Then you make it, so you change the activity of just reading to experiencing the book. Okay. That's adapt. Oops. Oh, no. Screwed it up. That was promoting literacy for 200. Okay, what's next? Alice, what are we choosing? She says, providing structure for 500. A free website where students can drag and drop or type text over images to create poems, posters, or pictures by describing what they see. And there's an example of one down below. Now, this is kind of an obscure website. I will be shocked if any of you know it. And Jeanette, typing, she thinks she might know it. Doodle Buddy, okay, excellent. That is an excellent tool. That's not the one that's here. But I like Doodle Buddy because you can provide stamps, right? Yes. This is a different website. Haiku Deck, oh, another good one. It's a great way to make presentations, right, where you can put in pictures and make presentations like an alternative to PowerPoint. This particular tool, like I said, I'd be shocked if anyone knew it, is called Picklets. Picklets. The point, again, remember how I talked about those word families at the beginning, how I didn't want you to get wrapped around specific tools, but I wanted you to talk about the feature of the tool or what's the point. The point behind Picklets is the drag and drop component. But the idea is that many tools that we use, like those graphic organizers we looked at, or like Microsoft Word or Chrome, Google Docs or whatever, any of those tools, Haiku Deck, right, they ask you to type in text. You have to type in text. But so many students have trouble typing in text. So what I'm really going for here is the idea that the text is already available and they just drag the text around the screen, putting it in order for them to make their sentences. So I'm going to jump over and show that to you real quick. Since most of you are probably unfamiliar with that particular tool. Here is Picklets, right? And you can't upload your own pictures. There's only pictures you can use. So I'm just going to pick this one with the this dandelion over here, right? And you'll see that there's a word bank down below that I can just click and drag on. So I want to make a sentence. How about, and I can scroll down a little bit to get even some more words. So I left forever. Blow. Oh, wait a second. Blow. I left forever blowing in. The has to be here somewhere. Yep, in the wind. Right? And then I add my punctuation at the end. Right? What's the point of me showing this to you? Again, it's the drag and drop component. So maybe you don't like Picklets. Maybe this doesn't work for you because the words are too small. Then maybe what you use is inspiration, or you use text boxes in Microsoft Word, where you make a word bank and students drag the words around. Or maybe you do it in maybe your school district will read the word if you hover over it. No, it won't EH. But other tools will, like some of the other ones I'm mentioning, like inspiration would definitely have that feature built into it. Of course, that's not free. But many school districts have interactive whiteboard software, maybe your Smart Notebook, or maybe you're a Promethean and you're using Active Inspire. Those, you can create text boxes and have a word bank and you can drag them around. So lots of different ways to do the same feature, which is drag and drop. That's what I want you to walk away from with this. And Jeanette, I'm going to let you guys try that, right? Okay, let me jump back over to the presentation. All right, so I think, Liz, you still have control, right? Do I have that right? So let me get back to the main screen. Oops. Come on. There we go. Okay, sorry. How about promoting literacy for 300? A website from the University of North Carolina with an enormous library of digital books with pictures, which also allows users to generate and add to that library by authoring their own books. Yes, some people have used it before. Oh, these people know their stuff. Exactly. Awesome, guys. So it's Tar Heel Reader. If you have not seen it, you need to check it out, right? Everyone who's seen it and used it, yes, you have to use it. Definitely go check it out. Bump this to the top of your list. Tar Heel Reader. These, what you're looking at here, this picture is books that I've made. If you haven't seen Tar Heel Reader, I'm going to jump over and I'm going to show it to you real quick. Right? These are some of my books, and I don't know. Someone want to see one? Which one do you want to look at real quick, just as an example? Steve's Life in Minecraft, The Gloomy Gloomy Halloween, Restaurant Duty. Whoever types it in first, it's the dishwasher one. Excellent. All right, Rochelle. Right. So. This is Chris. This is Chris. He has a job to do. Now I'm reading this, right? But back here, are settings, and I could actually have it be read aloud to me. I could download it as a PowerPoint, right? So if I didn't want to do it online, if I wanted to take it with me, there's lots of different options. This one is obviously I can upload my own pictures, right? Like I said, it can be read aloud. You know, you can make your own story. I've tried to keep this relatively simple where the, you know, there's only 1 or 2 sentences per, Chris is terrible with the knives, right? So this is just one example of books, right? At the end, you can rate the books, and you can find more books, right? You can also write a book, right? And so if I wanted to write a book about a dog, I can find all these pictures of dogs, right? And then I can choose the picture, and I can add it to my book, right? And then I can fill in the details. Add that to my book, add that to my book, right? Okay. And so on and so forth. I can make my own book. I can type in my text, right? I'm not going to spend any more time showing you the specifics of Tar Heel Reader. Just the idea, though. The idea behind it is that students not only can read accessible books on any sort of content, right? If you had to teach the bombing of Pearl Harbor, you could go over and you could search Tar Heel Reader and look for books that students have made or other teachers have made about the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and it's made in accessible format so students can access it with switches, they can listen to it. Usually it's something that they can, has a better reading ability or reading level. So then that's one aspect. And the other aspect is students writing their own books so that they're not just writing something for the teacher's eyes, they're publishing it to the world so that I can enjoy their writing. Right? I, me, here in Virginia, or you, wherever you are, can enjoy their writing, and other students can benefit from other students' writing. So that is Tar Heel Reader. I'm going to leave this page. I didn't finish it. Okay. And something similar to Tar Heel Reader, too, I guess, would be Cat Book Builder. That would be another way to make accessible books. All right. Who said Tar Heel Reader first? Looks like it was Ann Jeanette. Ann Jeanette, you get to choose. It is 7 o'clock, so we've been doing this for an hour. It ends at 7:30, and we've got still a handful to get to. That's good. Fun with text for 500, exactly. All right, awesome. Let's have some fun with text. A method for improving writing performance, which involves the author generating text for the purpose of impacting/influencing others in the world, such as writing a blog post, commenting on another's blog post, commenting on another person's work, posting or commenting on social media, etc. Whoops. Maybe sort of gave that one away. Thank you back. Yeah, what is writing for an authentic purpose, right? So here's the idea behind this. I sort of alluded to this earlier, but let me just call it right out, right? Do you remember how you would write essays in school? And it actually hasn't changed much. I think a lot of classrooms are very similar, where student gets a writing assignment, you write the assignment, you give it to the teacher looks at it, she checks it over, says, yep, you did a good job, it comes home, your parents look at it, and then it gets thrown in the trash. Hopefully when the student's not looking, but that's what ends up happening to it. It gets pitched, right? And so if the student happens to see that happening, see that their work that gets thrown out, it's like not really motivating for them to do their writing assignment in the first place, and they get this whole foul taste in their mouth about writing. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard on writing when it's just going to get thrown out? So the idea is to make the writing something authentic, right? Make it something that they can, when I say authentic, means something that they can publish to the world, right? Like my son did with his timeline generator, right? And so today, in 2015, it is so easy to do. There are so many authors out there that have blogs that you can comment on, even if they don't, right? If you're reading something who's super popular that doesn't have a blog that they manage, well, then you could Facebook them or tweet them, or you could write a review on iTunes, or write a review of a place that you go to. If you go on community-based instruction, write a Yelp review. There's Amazon reviews. There's tons of ways of writing something that actually means something to the world, as opposed to just writing something for the teacher's eyes. So, and one example of that, I'm just going to throw this out here, is Eliza Anderson. Liza Anderson is the editor for a website called AT Program News. It's a free newsletter that you can get. You can sign up there and get free, free email sent to you whenever there's a new publication. But she's doing something called Generation Tech Articles. And she's out there recruiting right now, looking for students who use technology, primarily students with disabilities, that use technology to support their learning and that write about it. And so she has a number of these Generation Tech articles already published over at AT Program News, but she's always looking for more students who want to write about that process. So if you're looking for, if you know a student that jumps in your mind, it's like, yeah, I got a student that's, she really is rocking and rolling with, I don't know, Kurzweil, Read and Write Gold, or one of these web-based solutions that we've been looking at or something. Contact Eliza. She would love to hear from you. She'd like to work with you and that student to do some sort of authentic writing activity that she could then publish in this Generation Tech article. I've worked with Eliza twice now. Two students that I work with have done it, and they feel so awesome about their writing, like they produce something that other people use, and they feel like, they impacted the world, man. You know what I mean? They changed the world. So it wasn't just something that they did for the teacher's eyes only. So, okay. Authentic writing, Becca. You get to choose. What is next? What is Becca going to choose? She chooses choosing Fun with Text for 100. All right, Fun with Text. The simple English language of Wikipedia, summary.com, toolsfornoobs.com/summarize, freesummarizer.com, textcompactor.com, and TLDR extension in Chrome are all examples of websites or tools that help a user perform this task. Simplify, sort of. It doesn't really sort of simplifies it, Anjanette. It's not, yes, that's what I'm going for, Becca. Summarize, right? It summarizes the text. It simplifies the text too, Anjanette. But simplify might think you're reducing the reading level, and you don't always reduce the reading level when you summarize text. It's just less you have to read. That TLDR is too long, didn't read, right? So it takes it and makes it shorter. Right? So the simple English language of Wikipedia is one most people don't know about. I'm not going to take the time to jump over there and show you, but notice when you go to Wikipedia, which many, many, many students use, there's the different languages on the side, and on many of the, so you can immediately translate it to a different language, but on many of the posts, there is something called Simple English, and when you click on that, it summarizes it for you. It makes it much easier to read. So that is that feature. It's the summarizing feature. Right. All right, Becca. What are we doing next? John typing in too. Becca. Potpourri for 400. All right. A practice or initiative of selecting only materials that are born accessible, or at least digital. Oh, man. Keep losing my text box. Yes, Rewordify, John. Excellent. That's a good tool. Becca says UDL. Did anyone see the answer? I hope not. People are too busy typing to see my snafu. Not exactly UDL, Becca, but not exactly UDL and Jeanette and Maureen. So it's not exactly AIM either, right? Because AIM is sort of different, but close, right? Yes, Liz, it's the purchase, it's PALM initiative, right? So let's tease that out for a second, right? The idea is that school districts buy stuff, right? And when they buy stuff, one of the things that one of the criteria they should use when considering what stuff to buy is it accessible? So let me give you this example. Loudoun County Public Schools, my school district, the school district that I work for, the school district that my kids go to, they use a tool called Dreambox, right? And Dreambox is something they purchased, and it's a web-based math application that my daughter signs into, and she does 20 minutes of it, and they go to the computer lab and they do 20 minutes of it in the computer lab, right? And they practice their math facts and stuff. And there's games that go along with practicing these math facts, right? And we pay for it. So my daughter's showing this to me, and what happens is she plays one of these Dreambox games and she learns some math facts, and at the end she succeeds and a video comes up. And the videos of this cute little character, congratulating her on what a great job she did and keyboarding and whatnot, right? And the character's talking to her, and I say to my daughter, hey, what about your friend in your class who has a hearing impairment? Are they going to be able to hear what this character is saying? And she says, no, they can't. And so that's happening, and then it comes to us as the assistive technology person and says, hey, I got a student with a disability. They have trouble listening to this video because there's no text, right? How can we adapt it for them? Instead of, the way to really drive change is if Loudoun County Public Schools, before buying Dreambox, ask the question, hey, Dreambox, let me see those videos. Oh, are they accessible to everybody? No, they're not accessible to everybody? Well, then I'm not buying your product. Because that way, we're forcing the vendor to say, oh my gosh, I have to make my product accessible, otherwise I'm going to lose out on all of that money that Loudoun County Public Schools would have paid me to be their person, their math app person. You know what I mean? And so you as teachers, and depending on what your role is, if I don't know what your role is, should have a seat at the table when those decisions are being made. You try and be someone that influences those decisions so that, hey, before you go out and buy something for my classroom, for my school district, I need to know that these are the questions you need to ask. And the PALM initiative, has a whole series of questions that ask, so that it helps people ask those questions of vendors, so that you're driving the vendor to make it more accessible. Otherwise, we will always, always, always be chasing our tail. So that's maybe like a little pie in the sky dream that I and a bunch of other people share, that we can make change by forcing people to, forcing vendors to make their products accessible. But I think it's a noble one that we should be shooting for. So that is the PALM initiative. And who said the PALM initiative first? Liz. All right, Liz. Yes, buy accessible learning materials. Perfect, John. Exactly. Whatever acronym you want to use. They just have to have that concept. It's the people who hold the purse strings need to ask the question before they make the purchase. Yes, there is. In fact, I'll type it in as, I think, Liz, you get to choose the next one. I think that's right. Check that hyperlink and see if that's right. I'm doing that from memory, but. All right, Liz says verbal is a strength for 200. Okay. Vocaroo.com. Oh, Maureen mentioned this one earlier. Vocaroo.com is a web-based method for a user to record audio, which is useful as an alternative to writing as a form of expression, which produces this as an image that can be quickly scanned by a web-enabled device, resulting in a response that plays the recorded audio. Aha! And Jeanette jumps in first with QR code. That's exactly right. So, Vocaroo.com, I'm going to jump over and show it to you real quick so you can see exactly what this is. It is an online way to record your voice, right? So, let me just break out a new one here. I really love Vocaroo because you can't get lost here, right? Students, there's not a lot of place for them to click on stuff and get lost. So I click to hit record. It might pop up and say, hey, Chris, you got to use your, is it all right if I use your microphone? And I say, yes, it's okay. And now I'm recording, right? So I can record my sentence. Hurricanes are windy. Right? Hit stop. Are you happy with this recording? Let me listen to it. Yes, it's okay. And now I'm recording, right? So I can record my sentence. Hurricanes are windy. Right? Okay. And then if I like my recording, I can click here to save. And it gives me a website, right? This hyperlink will take me to that recording. But notice down here in the bottom right-hand side, it says QR code. So I can click on that QR code, and it gives me a QR code that if I were to use my QR code reader, I could scan that and it would automatically come up on my device and I could listen to it. So what's the point? Why am I showing you Voxer? Why am I so excited about that? Well, you could take these hyperlinks and you could paste it into your word processing doc, right? Let's say, right, I'm in Microsoft Word. I'm going to insert a table. Okay. Here's my table. We just make these a little bit bigger, right? You know what I'm making here? This is a 4-square graphic organizer, right? And so here I could type in, I could have recorded my voice and said, hurricanes are windy. And then I jump back over here and I record my voice again and I say, blizzards are dangerous snowstorms, right? And take that new hyperlink that I get and I paste it over here. And then I can go back over to Voxer and record my voice again and get another hyperlink. And I paste it over here. When I record my voice, my sentence is, let's see, earthquakes shake the ground, right? And I paste that in, right? So you know I'm getting different URLs each time, right? These are different URLs because I've recorded my voice each time, and so on and so forth. The idea being that I have recorded my entire essay and I've never typed a single word. I have never expected my student to know how to dictate their speech. I've just strictly recorded audio. Now I go back and they double click on this and they listen to it and it says, what was hurricanes? Hurricanes are windy. That was my sentence. All right, how do I spell hurricane? They work through how to spell hurricane. Oh, that's not right. How do I spell hurricane? Oh, finally I get hurricane spelled right. What was the rest of my sentence? I just click on the link. I listen to it again, and I say, hurricanes are windy. Oh, what was my next sentence? Was it on, I can't remember. Was it on earthquakes, or what did I say about earthquakes? Oh, let me just click on it and listen to it. Oh, yeah, earthquake. I said snowstorm. Blizzards. How do I spell blizzard? You get what I'm saying? Over and over, I can just listen and type. Listen and type. Why? Why would we do this instead of speech to text? Because when you're using speech to text, you are often not keyboarding. And keyboarding is a lifelong skill students need to learn and practice, right? So picture the student that's using speech to text, and they've been practicing speech to text. You only have so much time in the day. So they're at school, they're practicing speech to text. Okay, go into the back of the room, use your Dragon app and use speech to text. Use a different app. There's Chrome extensions like Talk Typer, or there's Read and Write Gold does it as well, where you can do speech to text, and you're practicing that, right? And all that time that they're practicing recording their voice and it coming out as text, they're not practicing the motor plans of keyboarding. And so what happens when they go and they sit in the classroom, like maybe college, or maybe they're in a seminar? Picture me in the front of the room right now and all of you sitting in class. Could you be using speech to text as a way of taking notes? You couldn't, because that would be very rude for you to be talking over me as I'm speaking in the front of the room, right? So this way, they practice, they still get their verbal as a strength, right? They're using their verbal abilities to get their words out. Then they go back and they do a typing activity. And if they never get to finish typing it in, building those motor plans of keyboarding, the teacher would still know what they wanted to write for that essay, right? By clicking on these hyperlinks. Okay, so that's the point behind the audio. There are many different ways of inserting audio. We talked about those first, right? It doesn't have to be Voxer. It could be Audacity. It could be the sound record feature in Microsoft Office, right? There's OneNote that does it, right? We talked about those earlier. So as a callback, there's all those other ways to record audio, but it's recording audio for that specific purpose to help with their writing, right? Let's see, good? Okay, good. I see some aha moments here happening in the chat, which is great, and I hope there's even more aha moments happening that aren't in the chat. Right? One last thing with QR codes: if you are adapting text, that's a great way to adapt text. Meaning, you get the test question, right? So let me just delete this here real quick, and this is my test question, and I have an accommodation that test questions will better be read aloud, or instructions will be read aloud. Well, I can jump over to Voxer. The teacher can record that test question, and then they copy that image, and they paste it into here next to the test question, right? And now they're listening to the test question. They can scan their QR code. The audio would come up on their phone or on their iPad or whatever the device they're using, and that would read the test question aloud. And they can listen to that over and over and over again without having to rely on a human person next to them reading the test questions then, right? So, of course, if they're using a digital device already, maybe they're using text-to-speech, and that's the way they can have test questions read aloud to them as well. So, cool? Okay. How am I doing on time? 10 minutes. All right. So let's do at least one more question, because then I want to show you, kind of wrap it up. Let's jump over to, who got that one right? Who said QR code first? Was it Anjanette? Was that you? I thought it was Anjanette. Want to finish this out with one? There's a handful we didn't get to. I knew we wouldn't get to them all. But you'll have the entire presentation, so you can check those out for yourself. Thank you, Alice. Verbal as a strength for 500. All right, going 500. Big money at the end. Photobabble.com, Voki.com, Blabberize.com, and Photopeach.com provide a user with a way to upload or create one of these and add corresponding audio, which is useful as a way of giving directions, demonstrating knowledge, or telling a story. Maureen says image, exactly, right? Maureen jumps in with image. There's a lovely picture of my wife, and you notice that her bottom jaw is distended and horribly disfigured because I cut her jaw off. That's horrible. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's a Blabberize, right? So the idea here is that I take a picture of my wife, I upload it to Blabberize, and then I can record my voice or her voice, or anyone can, the user records the voice, and the little distended jaw you see there go up and down will go up and down, right? It'll move up and down with the audio, right? So the idea here, let's take President's Day, right? Students had to write essays. I'm sure students all over the country had to write essays on, or write sentences, or fill out a worksheet on, who are the two presidents, Washington and Lincoln, right? Well, what if you took a picture of Washington or Lincoln, and you put it in a Blabberize, and you cut out Lincoln's mouth, and it moved up and down, and the student said, I am the one who composed the Gettysburg Address, or if it was Washington, I didn't chop down the cherry tree, right? You can't see my hand, but it's moving up and down in front of my jaw, right? Because that's how their voices would, right? So that's how the picture would look. So all of these tools are different ways you can upload pictures, add audio, upload picture, or create a picture, add audio behind it to make things much more interesting for students and engaging. I've seen teachers use these tools to give directions this way. Okay, here's how we're doing this lesson, guys. Click on this link and listen to my little Voki, my little character, give the instructions for the lesson. So, yeah, and thank you, Jackie. Yes, my wife puts up with a lot. If you have seen the promotional videos, you'll know for the next webinar, you'll know that. So let's see, it's 7:23, and I want to see what did we miss. There's a handful we missed. I'm sure there's some other good strategies in here, but we're running out of time, so I'm going to let you go back and finish up these handful of ones that we didn't get to look at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of content there to talk about. I hope you got a lot out of it. And as we wrap up, I just want to kind of promote what's happening next at CTD and show you how to participate in the discussion forum that is happening, that's surrounding this particular webinar, right? So let me close Vakaru. We never got to spell with Flickr. Oh, you got to look at spell with Flickr. We never got to Final Jeopardy, which is my the blog, the AT Tipscast podcast and blog. You got to check out the AT Tipscast. That's my blog and podcast, where I've described most of this stuff in audio format before. Try and make it fun for you so it's not so boring. But here is the CTD website, right? So I wanted you to check this out real quick. If you go to the ctinstitute.org, let me just start there, right? This is the main website, ctdinstitute.org. You click on events. Here is our particular event. That's the one you're in right now. and you'll notice right below it, right, it says discussion forum. Yes, thank you, Anna Marie, for putting the link in there, but here, if you forget that link, or here is how you get to it. And there you see the discussion forum. You'll notice that I have already posted in there, kind of welcoming you. Okay, scroll down. There I am giving you a little welcome message. The idea is for you to go in, just like I said at the beginning, go in, play with some of these tools that you just saw, and leave some feedback here in the discussion forum saying, yeah, okay, so here's why I never recognized I should use text-to-speech that way before. Or, yeah, okay, I started playing with the QR codes, Chris, and I didn't really understand how to put it into work. Whatever your questions are, you post them here, and not only myself, but anyone participating in the discussion forum can give feedback, right? I mean, we already saw that most of you know so much information. You're answering those questions correctly. So, don't, Mary, definitely don't feel intimidated. Pick one to start with, right? Just pick one tool and say, that's what I'll start with. That's how we all started, right? And try it, and then come to the discussion forum and say, hey, okay, Chris, I picked one tool and I tried it, and here's how I'm going to use it with my students. And everyone else will give their feedback as well, right? That's the real power behind the discussion forum, just like the real power behind this Jeopardy webinar. It could have bombed. It could have been a super duper failure, except you all participated in it. So please, just like the discussion forum, just like you participated in the Jeopardy format webinar, please participate in the discussion forum. We will continue to learn all week long. Okay? I'm trying to keep up with what people are reading here too. But, yeah, oh, and speaking of, if you had to pick one to look at first, I don't know, crew, what do you all think, participants? If you give Mary some advice, which would you have her look at first? My advice would be to look at text-to-speech. If you're not using text-to-speech, you got to start there. But anyone else, where do you think you would start? Yeah, Leandra says text-to-speech. You got to know what your text-to-speech tool is too. All right. Finally, let me jump back over to the presentation. There is the link to the SurveyMonkey, the evaluation. I think I saw Anna post it here in the chat as well. We need to have your feedback on this to how to make it better, right? Did you like this Jeopardy-style format? Was it something that kept you engaged? Did it stop you from checking your email? Were you constantly guessing what the next tool was? Did you feel like it was too much and it was too overwhelming? Did I speed up in the end, and was I trying to fit too much in? All of that stuff is great feedback for how we can make these events better and how we can customize them for your next experience in CTD. So please go ahead and fill out the SurveyMonkey form and let us know your thoughts. Any other questions before we wrap it up here? We've got like 2 minutes left. I'm happy to hang out and just answer anything you have. Of course, we have a discussion forum following that up too, so put your questions there. Great, awesome and fun. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Tiffany, Alice. Excellent. Thank you all, guys. This really, I hope you had as much fun as I did. It was fun to play with all of you and challenge. Cool. Thanks, Denise. Yeah. The session will be there for you to go back and check it out. It's an interesting question, Elizabeth. Definitely post that question over on the discussion forum. We'll have some questions for you back about what he wrote and how he wrote it, and we'll talk to you about how we can add some pictures to it and publish it to the web, right? So that he can get some feedback on it, right? Totally. We'll give you some ideas. Put that over in the discussion forum. Oh, Anna says she's going to email out the survey link as well. Great. Wow, hey, Jeanette, 11 of you in the room. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I like Bridget's idea of trying Tar-Heel Reader. All right, everybody. I will see you over in the discussion forums. Ask your questions there, and I will be back. I'll be checking in frequently for the next week, and hopefully all of you will as well. Don't feel free to wait for me to respond. All of you should jump in and respond as well. We'll all learn from each other. What this is all about is building a community.